Listen, life's all about leveling up. Whether you're handling business on the field or kicking it in your zone, you like to celebrate with cigars that match the moment. That's why you should link up with Famous Cigars to bring you a wild deal. Right now, you can grab 8 premium cigars for just $8. You heard that right. 8 top-rated cigars at $1 a stick. Top quality brands like Oliva, Romeo y Julieta, and Davidoff. Handpicked just for you and worth over $80. Hit up famouscigars.com/cam and lock in this exclusive deal. While you're there, check out their insane selection of premium cigars, all shipped fresh and fast from their massive 20,000 square foot humidor. That's half a football field. Famous Cigars has been in the game since 1939 and still family owned. So celebrate every win with the folks at Famous. 8 cigars for $8. famouscigars.com/cam.
The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to The Timeline, a Phoenix Suns podcast. We are back. My name is Mike, here with Sam. How's it going, Sam?
Hello. It is. It's August, man. It's August. I think we're all feeling it at this point in the off season. I want to thank people for being a little bit patient with us. But today we're gonna do something that, you know what? I don't actually think we've done a mailbag, man, in over a year.
Yeah, and if you think about a Reddit mailbag, it's been a few years probably since we've done a Reddit mailbag, even beyond that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure there's a lot of great questions in there. We got a ton of comments. We're going to record for about an hour, so we'll do as much of them as we possibly can. But before we get to the questions, I know we have a lot, so I'm not going to stick too long on this. The Suns officially have a coaching staff. That was the one thing I think we can say. The actual Phoenix Suns account tweeted it out, sent it out on all the socials, and they have an actual coaching staff announcement. Now, we've known most of these guys that were announced as part of the coaching staff so far. Let me bring it up. We know the basics of it. Let's see. We got Jordan Ott, Damari Carroll, Jesse Mermes, Brian Randall, Chasen Allen, John Little, Mike Muscala. There's a big difference. And Sean Dwyer, another new guy here since the last time that we recorded. I will say, yes, I've heard the jokes. Yes, people remembered I wanted Mike Muscala on the Suns as a backup big. Don't regret that. I just looked up who has the best rim protection of centers who shoot threes, and he was one of the guys that was up there. So I thought that would be a good on the margins ad. Now he's a coach. I guess he's on the Suns. Maybe he can teach Malawach how to do that.
Non-zero chance to me that Mike Muscala could still outplay Nick Richards. Non-zero, maybe not the likely outcome, the median outcome, but he could do it. Let him get out there and shoot threes and teach Kaman Malawach to shoot threes. That would be huge too.
Great reputation as a teammate too. Just throwing that out there. Sean Dwyer was the other guy I don't think we knew about. I don't know much about him. I think he has some ties to Michigan. That didn't surprise me at all.
Graduate of Michigan State, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did Jordan not hire him, or did Matt Ishbia? I guess would be the question about that. But at this point, this is just par for the course. So
I think had a direct tie to Jordan Ott, who was also at Michigan State, right? So
perfect.
I think that's just Ott, who happened to also go to Michigan State, but tapping through his network of people he's worked with in the past. So that one didn't really raise any eyebrows for me. Otherwise we've talked about these guys in the past. I mean, I really like Damari Carroll, Brian Randall, who's been there before. We got the coaching staff. There it is.
One thing I will say, when Jordan Ott was hired, when all of the news came out about him being a coach, he's young, he's new, he's never been a head coach in the NBA, assistant coach for not really that long. I mean, a long time. He's got a resume worthy of it, but not a guy who's been around the league 15 years or anything. it was said that the Suns were looking to hire an established former head coach to be his main assistant. They didn't. So this is the staff now. Maybe there was guys out there that they wanted. Maybe there was guys out there that they made offers to. For whatever it's worth, none of that seemed to work out, and this is the staff that they're with. I don't really have a lot of strong opinions about there not being an established head coach. I actually think sometimes it's a problem to have an established head coach as an assistant, because then it's like, when are we going to fire this guy and promote this guy? And I don't necessarily think young coaches need that kind of pressure. But do you have any thoughts on there not being like that kind of guy in the staff?
Yeah, no, I actually, speaking exactly to what you were saying there, like I do think it can create this tension. It can also create this sort of collaboration, of course, in a positive way. But I think if there's anything you can say about the Suns, whether you like their offseason or don't like their offseason, they've leaned into an identity. You cannot criticize and say that they haven't leaned into an identity. They've decided that they're going to stack the roster with young athletes with this defense-first mentality. And similarly, they've decided that they're going to stack the coaching staff with kind of minds of a new generation. And the benefit of that, I mean, who knows? They could free fall and be absolutely terrible next year. But I think the benefit, whatever happens, is that we see the direct impact of their new identity, right? We see exactly what this kind of young athletic team and young new-minded, who knows, avant-garde coaching staff, if they are that forward-thinking, mastermind coaching staff, we can see what they come up with, and they will be unencumbered by any sort of baggage, right? That comes from potentially a veteran coach with 10 or 15 years of experience of head coaching, or similarly, like, just again, the roster will be unencumbered by the baggage of old veterans who, are kind of washed up, a la Bradley Beal, but still think they deserve a big role on the team, and still think that they're competing for championship rings. I had to get that one shot out there on him today based on what he just said, that he's trying to win a ring with the Clippers. Good luck.
Good luck.
But yeah, no, I mean, I'm not like totally on board with everything they've done this summer, but at the very least, I have to respect that they just sent it, right? They just chose a path and sent it, and so we're gonna see pretty quickly what it all adds up to.
Yeah, I think there were like outs along the way, little places where they could have changed their mind, like Chris Paul, or adding an established assistant coach to the coaching staff that they either didn't do or weren't able to do, but depending on who you which reporting you believe out there, but they didn't end up doing it, and this is what we're left with. And I'm looking forward to it, because I really think like having a staff that's sort of unencumbered by the past of the NBA, this is of course optimism season speaking in me,
of course,
could be good, and I hope that it's something that works out for the team in the long run. Plus, if these guys end up being good, you can have them for a long time because they're young. Okay, so I posted on Reddit 2 days ago at this point. Well, yeah, 2 days ago at this point. Yesterday morning, expecting there to be a few replies, and then we record that night. My internet went out. Now we're recording a day later than I anticipated that I was going to record, and now there's 79 comments in this thread. So I just want to thank everyone on Reddit for replying to this, and I'm just going to go in order and read. I'm going to trudge into the dangerous waters of reading Reddit usernames out loud.
Go for it.
So I'll do my best on that.
We've done the same thing with Twitter before. I do just want to say to the people of Reddit, obviously those who are longtime users of Our Sons know the story. We were moderators of the Sun subreddit. We met on Our Sons. This is all ancient history, and no one who's joined in the past 10 years would care at this point. But I will just say, like, I'm still in Our Sons all the time. I just don't comment anymore. But I am lurking. I read everything.
I'm a lurker now. Yeah,
I see
embarrassingly almost
stuff, and I think the reason why. I mean, why don't I comment? I don't really know. I don't think it really matters. But why do I continue to read it? Is because Reddit just as like a general platform. This is not like me. This episode is not sponsored by Reddit or whatever. But Reddit is one of the only places on the internet in 2025. And maybe this is changing, but I really feel like you can still kind of be confident that a real human being wrote what you're reading, right? So that's one of the reasons I continue to go to Reddit. And also just for Our Sons, it's just always been a great place to take the pulse of the community. And people kind of don't take shit there. So
it's also funny.
You can get an authentic opinion if you go to ourselves.
Lots of really funny people there too. Yeah, it's funny because I look at it now. I'm on the subreddit and now I'm just going into old memories here. 305,000 people subscribed when you and I first started talking on Reddit. I think we
literally joined when there were 2,000, maybe 3,000.
I think I remember that it being around 1,500.
Yeah, it's wild.
When I first joined, I'm older than you, but you were a kid too when you first joined. So it is kind of funny to look at it. Reddit itself, of course, changed dramatically in those years. So yeah, I'll go in order here. First reply, it's a compliment. I'm still going to read it. It's from Huckett. He got the most upvotes. So he said, Mike and Sam, you are some of the best sports podcasters I've listened to. Thanks for all the great content. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Going into our 8th season doing this, now taking this as an opportunity to reminisce about our time on Reddit. It is kind of crazy that, Sam, we're about to do our 8th season covering the Suns on a podcast.
Yeah, I definitely don't feel like a rookie anymore. I promise, guys, the episode is not going to be about us. It's mostly going to be about the team. But I don't feel like we have this rising potential anymore. I kind of feel like we're this washed up, year 8 in the league veteran. I don't know who to compare.
Yeah, we're not Grantland. We're the Ringer now.
We're not Devin Booker. We're Jordan Clarkson. I don't know, something like that. That's how I feel most days. But thank you for the compliment, Huckett.
Big Hawk 123 said that very carefully. What is the best case scenario of a Booker and Green backcourt? Is worst case what we saw out of Beal and Book, or could it be even worse? A question I think worded specifically for you and I.
Sure, yeah.
Sam, yeah. What do you think?
You want me to start? I think, of course, it could be worse. It could always be worse. If there's anything that being a Suns fan teaches you, it should be that. But surprisingly, this might not be the answer you expected of me, Mike. I think it's unlikely that it is worse. I don't want to curse the guy, but I do just want to point out that Jalen Green has been phenomenally healthy throughout the first 4 seasons of his rookie contract. He played all 82 games 2 seasons ago. He played all 82 games last year. Bradley Beal has struggled to stay on the court for more than 35, 40 games these past few years. Yet another reason there are alarm bells going off in LA, right? They've assembled a roster over there that is just guys age 33 and older. And so, look, I think there are certain elements of Jalen Green's game that honestly, like even Green with all of his youth and potential and whatever, like he's not the shooter that Bradley Beal is. Beal had a great season just from an efficiency standpoint last year. But he was never on the court. And you could always question his mindset and his mentality. And his playmaking wasn't good, even though they were trying to have him be a playmaker. And I think, it's optimism season, but it's pretty easy to see an upside where, like, on the whole, Booker and Green will be better than that.
I think you're right. And I think it's right to point out that offensively, if you look at a lot of what Bradley Beal did last season, it was better than what Jalen Green did. In that the shooting percentages were better. The passing was better. The assists were better. Like all of that was sort of better on an overall minute-to-minute basis. I also don't think it could be worse. I think Bradley Beal just made the Suns worse most of the time when he was on the court. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case for Jalen Green because Jalen Green just cares more. He's younger. He's trying to prove himself. He's going to try a little harder. Is he as skilled offensively? Probably not. Like, can he lead the league in scoring the way Bradley Beal did when he was younger? Probably not. What I think the best case for that backcourt is, because right now, if we're talking about those two guys as the starting guards, which we are, it's really poor defensively. The best case is that Jalen Green leans into what we need him to do defensively in the way that Bradley Beal, whether or not he tried, because I think at times he did, was not able to do. If Jalen Green, he played well defensively in the playoffs. It was 7 games, so like whatever, right? 7 games, but he played well defensively. If you watch some of the playoff minutes, much better than he did in the regular season. If he finds a way to lean into that consistently, I'm not talking, posting a few games where he has good defense on Twitter and saying, look how good he is. No, I'm talking every game, leaning on that, and then still brings what he can offensively. Like if he just adds to his game, if his offense stays the same as it was last year, but he adds some level of consistent good defense because he's athletic to his game on a game-to-game basis, he becomes a much better partner for Devin Booker.
Yeah, I think and
if he doesn't, I think it's harder.
You're just talking about a role change, right? We're talking about a guy who we know has talent, but has to just lean into the competitive spirit of playing defense and not taking possessions off, right? I mean, really, it's remarkable how Jalen isn't athletic in like every single way that one can be athletic. Like, he's not the longest player or whatever, and he's thin. Like, I'll admit that he has a thin frame, but there's no reason that someone as athletic as Jalen Green should be as poor as some of the stats say he's been defensively through 4 years. He should be able to survive on that end. And then coupled with offense, like, not even talking about him getting better at any one thing, just if he takes a few less bad shots, it'll markedly improve his efficiency. And I think you'll see the narrative change about him quite a bit. But I am worried, just in terms of his ability to do that, I'm worried, are they just going to put too much on Jalen's plate? Like, he's going to have to do everything when Book is on the bench, and then we're going to have him taking 20 shots a game anyway, which I don't think is the ideal role.
And we'll see what Colin Gillespie and the other guards that are on the roster can bring to the team at that point of the season. But it is important to point out it's not just Bradley Beal switched out for Jalen Green. It's also Kevin Durant's gone. So while I say I think it could look better than Bradley Beal and Devin Booker did last season, there's also like this automatic 30 points on like 62% true shooting that's just gone from the team. So there's just going to be a little bit more pressure there, and we'll see where that comes from other guys. Big Green Jelly 25 said, who would you like to see start at the 4 this season, and who do you think will start there? I'll start here. I think it's going to be done. I think it's going to be done, and I think it should be done.
Okay.
And if they find better options than that throughout the season, then lean on that, because that is pretty small.
Yeah, it's going to be...
To me, he should be guarding guards, but...
Right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, it will be Ryan Dunn. It should be power forward by committee. I know that's not the answer that anyone loves to hear. There's just too many questions about every other option you could label. There's too many questions about that guy other than Ryan Dunn. Dunn is too small to play power forward full-time in the NBA right now, I think. But it can't be... Oso has too many questions. Malawach, obviously not. I mean, I think ultimately the goal is that they'd like to see a little bit of Oso or Malawach playing with Mark Williams, but neither of those guys could do it consistently. Nigel Hayes-Davis, way too many question marks coming over from Europe. Talented guy, obviously, but way too many question marks. Rasheer Fleming, the 31st overall pick. No, like, he has the size to play power forward. He's not going to be your starting power forward on day one. Am I forgetting anyone?
Did you mention Oso?
Yeah, Oso. Okay, Malawach, yeah. Hayes-Davis, and Fleming. Those are the only guys with the size to play the position, and just none of them deserve it, right? Like, but they should get a crack at it. And
I also think there's a world where it's Royce O'Neal and Brooks.
Yeah, that would suck.
And Dunn comes off. Yeah, it's smaller. Even it's smaller. It's a worse rebounding team. It's going to be an awful rebounding team if that's the case. And, this is a team that's talked to, the coaching staff has talked a lot about chasing rebounds. So
yeah, they can't.
Maybe it'll be Oso. I don't know.
They can't start Oso Royce and Brooks at the 3 and 4. That's insane.
Yeah. Daft Neo said, love the podcast and Patreon. Thanks. Shout out patrons. What would you realistically like to see from Jordan Ott in year 1 that'll make you feel like it was a successful hire? And then he has a bonus question after that. You can start with that one.
Yeah. So, look, it's not entirely in any one guy's control, and Jordan Ott obviously included in that conversation, but I think what they're looking for, broadly speaking, is a cultural reset. Again, it kind of feels like we say that every year, cultural reset with this team.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have to with Monty for a while there, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just hard. Okay, so this time for real, though, it's hard to get a cultural reset if you don't have continuity. So we're hoping that this was the hire that they like and that this is the guy that they're going to keep long term. What that means for Ott is commanding the locker room, obviously, in a way that the players respect him. I do think that's a little bit easier with younger players. Less baggage, kind of like we talked about earlier. I just don't want to hear any stories about player X hates his role, player Y is showing up late to practice, and that's why they don't like him behind the scenes. Like, this team was littered with stuff like that last year and the past 2 years, frankly. And we're trying to shed all of that. So they could win 32 games and whatever, you still look at the process over the results. And from Ott's perspective, it could still end up being a successful season if that's the case. It just needs to be with minimal drama. I think that's the main thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, I feel exactly. It's buy-in is how I would describe it. I feel exactly the same. if you can tell that the players are playing to the vision that they've outlined consistently, and it doesn't fall apart when they start losing, because they're going to lose. You know, they're not going to be as good as they were in previous years. They might be as good as they were last year, but that's not exactly good. And if that doesn't fall apart when things start getting tough, which is what really happened with this team over and over again in the KD era, is they would start out looking good every season. They would start out with intention every season. And then 20 games from then, you start losing some games, then all of a sudden it's back to, KD ball. It's back to whatever you would describe last season as. It just sort of fell apart into that every year. So buy in consistently for a long period of time.
Speaking of KD ball, I did read ahead to the bonus petty question. Do you want to read it out?
Yes. When a player like KD leaves your team, do you actively root against them going forward, or is it dependent on the player/situation?
You want to throw it to me?
Sure.
If there's one team, so I said the Clippers won't win a championship because I firmly believe that, but I don't really care about what Bradley Beal does, whatever. The one team I truly am rooting against to not win a championship next year, I'm sorry to say, is the Houston Rockets. That's how I feel. I would be okay with LeBron winning a 5th ring with the Lakers over the Houston Rockets next year. Is that how you feel?
I actively root against most teams, so it's not really that out of question for me to actively root against guys. I think KD and the way he trolls Suns fans on online, it's enough for me to be like, I don't need to see you win again. I just don't think they will, so it kind of makes me feel a little bit better. Brad, I don't know. I feel sort of indifferent about Brad. It feels like even getting up to the level of emotion where you're actively rooting against him is almost too much. I blame Matt Ishbia for that more than I blame Brad.
They're really different because KD, KD frustrated the hell out of me with his entire experience, the roller coaster that was following him, but you never ever questioned the talent. There were things that I wanted them to be better at but he was always still talented. He was still Kevin Durant. You still believed that deep down there somewhere he won championships for a reason, even if they were with the Warriors, whatever. Brad just didn't feel like a professional athlete for a lot of his tenure. His mindset didn't feel like that of a professional athlete. And so you just don't respect him in the same way. KD can talk shit, and I can root against him but still respect him. Brad can talk shit, and it's you're just a clown, bro. You're just trolling. That's all it is. So I feel differently about the two guys. In general, I would like to say I don't root against every player who leaves the Suns.
I would say in the playoffs, I was choosing teams to root for that had former Suns players.
Yeah.
That's usually what I do. KD, I feels a little different now. I just feel like he's almost asking for it. So, yeah, I'll do it. Glam Breakfast said, "Hey, Mike, thanks to you and Sam for making the most wretched Sun season since the Bledsoe I don't want to be here tweet slightly more bearable." Thanks. Simple question from me. Even with Beal off the team and Jalen Green allegedly playing point, I still think the Suns need to move another shooting guard. Who do you prefer to trade, Royce or Grayson? Factor in whatever you want, perceived value to other teams, on-court fit with this year's Suns roster, ability to take out other teams' role players with cheap shots. Didn't know where that one was going at the end, so that's Grayson. Yeah, who would you rather trade? I think this one is a question more about salary than anything else, right? Because Grayson can return you a player of higher salary, which in some cases,
in theory,
which in some cases could result in a better player, or at least I think maybe the way to say it would be a risk that could potentially have a higher payoff because there's a reason they earned that money in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think that both of these guys could actually be pretty good in the system that Cleveland ran last year, and I think giving them a chance and trying to figure it out could be kind of interesting. I think there's we think about Colin Gillespie as the Ty Jerome of the Suns. It's really Grayson that would more likely be that guy. That could be sort of the 6th man of the year type of guy that just shoots a ton of threes off the bench and actually has a surprise scoring season. That's more likely to be Grayson.
I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that from him last year, but he kind of lacks confidence in his game still. And I recognize there was a lot that he was. Sorry, an ad just started auto-playing on Jalen Green's basketball reference page, and that's why I did that. I was trying to look up Grayson's. I was trying to look up Grayson's stats. What was I saying? Oh, Grayson lacked confidence. Like we were begging him to take pull-up threes. Remember with the percentage he shot 2 years ago, and then it sort of just never materialized for him. So yeah, in theory, I want to believe that, but I view both of these guys personally as superfluous to the team. In that, just I'd trade both of them, or like either or.
Yeah,
I think Royce returns you more value right now. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I really don't know.
Royce returns you a pick. Grayson's
shooting
nothing.
Really,
maybe I'm not sure. Maybe
yeah,
a second
potentially.
round picks.
I guess there's like the theory of Royce O'Neal is still out there. I think. To be frank, I think where Royce got much worse, like if you look at the first 2 months of the season last year, Royce was a much better player. I called him the third best player on the Suns. If you look at the last 2 months of the season, Royce was one of the worst players on the Suns, and Grayson started playing well. So it's like a weird situation where I think it depends on, the theory of Royce O'Neal could be you slot him in at a contender and he can play the 3 or whatever, 2 and 3.
Part of me also
maybe
wonders.
Is not thought of that way.
Part of me also wonders if you keep Grayson right now because, as you pointed out, he makes $6 million more a year. Even $7 million more even. I think it's like 17 versus 10. And like if Jalen Green ends up being really good and they do think about flipping him, I don't know. I wonder if the $7 million extra that you get from attaching Grayson to another big contract like that gets you closer to targeting something that you actually really want.
Yeah. I think there's a reason they're going to hang on to Grayson. I think they probably shopped both of these guys in the offseason, and if they find something that makes sense, then yeah. I think it's more likely. I wouldn't say I want to trade either one right now. I think it's more likely that Grayson is traded if they can find, because I think they just need to improve from a talent standpoint. So if they can find a team willing to take Grayson, Nick Richards or something for a player that is just done on that team that can improve the Suns' talent, the Suns will do that. He also has a lighter follow-up. What do you think is the most embarrassing moment of the Booker Durant years? And his was them standing by Drake after Not Like Us. I have one.
What is it?
I think it was, and it's neither of these two guys, but it's Bradley Beal's turnovers in the one game the Suns were going to win against the Timberwolves.
Yeah, I mean that was the highest profile one. There were some national TV games there. That Clippers game where they got their backs blown out by like 50. That was the regular season. The highest profile one was the Wolves series.
Okay, Shinjakari96 said, "Hi guys. Huge fan of the pod, thank you. Love your balanced analysis combined with genuine fandom. Just for fun, what are your favorite Suns unis of the post-bubble era? I love the teal ones from 2022. A book one is the only sports jersey I own. I also love the Valley jerseys and the plain black ones. Feel free to talk about historic jerseys as well. Thanks and looking forward to the next pod and season." Thanks for the question. I think he nailed the best jerseys. I'm being honest,
I think he nailed it too. I don't think there's any others post bubble. It's the teal ones he's talking about are the indigenous ones.
They look great. Yeah, they're so cool.
Those are good. Those are Nike, right? The City Edition.
I think so. Yeah.
And then the Black Valley jersey.
They're just so good.
I just think when I think Black Valley
jersey,
they're
going to be back this year. Rumors are saying, yeah.
Yeah, I think Black Valley jersey. I think 64 wins. I think DeAndre Ayton, Valley-oop.
Yep.
Just like only positive memories, and that definitely helps. So that jersey.
And we know the best jerseys are just the classic Sunburst jerseys, which I don't know if that counts as one of the jerseys they wore like post-bubble, because they brought that back one of those seasons, I think. And I think it was the first KD year, right? The purple one.
Yes.
And that one's amazing too. So shout out to that one. All right. Copez says, Oso is credited for being a great passer, and that is considered his most NBA-ready skill, but his assist numbers aren't super high, and he has a high turnover ratio. Why is this? Are the turnovers primarily happening on things other than passes? Is his passing still in the potential / development phase? This is it's a great question, and I think it's a good way to sort of think about how to watch basketball and how to consider younger players. Because also, and we talked about it a lot, and we had this conversation with David like a month ago now, I guess. And I said if you had to describe his one NBA ready skill, it would be the word feel, which is different than just passing.
Which doesn't seem like a compliment.
And it's also not real. It's just sort of ephemeral. It's not because it's not just that he can pass to the right guy in the right spot or thread it through a needle. He also understands how to move with the ball and the ball to a right spot quickly enough so that the offense keeps flowing and moving. He's not a stand around guy. He's a guy who moves around a lot. And Dario Saric is the example I always used, is a guy who just had the ball moving side to side on the court enough to try to create the creases that can get to the basket or get open threes. But I do think that assist numbers are hard for him because he doesn't play with the best players. Like, it helps to play with really good players if you have that level of passing. You play with Devin Booker, you're going to get an extra assist a game because he's going to make the shot. When you pass to him, he's going to get to the rim when you pass to him on the cut. So assist numbers notwithstanding. And then the other thing I will say is it's relative to his position. You have to factor in relativity in this conversation because when I talk about his passing, to me, I'm not comparing it to Chris Paul, Colin Gillespie, a point guard. I'm comparing it to Nick Richards or Malawach or something like that.
Right, the
and
feel
you can just
conversation there.
Yeah, you can just see the level of understanding of an offense that he has compared to those other guys. And then lastly, I know I'm ranting on this one for a bit.
No, you're good. Cook.
For him, what we saw in Summer League is something that I really would like to see. It's passes on the move, because he was able to drive and kick to shooters. And at his size, if he can turn that into something that he can do regularly, he's going to pull extra defense because he's going to have centers on him. And if he can find those shooters in the corners, he's going to create three off those. So it is theoretical, I think. But there is evidence there, I think, that points to that being something that he could do in the NBA. What ceiling it could reach, I'm not really sure. Who really knows? This all has to be tested. He's so young. But I think you could see a lot of evidence there that it could be good.
Yeah, I limited minutes and sample size and all that, but I would point out in his rookie year, he had a 2-to-1 assist turnover ratio. Literally that meant like one assist to half a turnover per game because he wasn't playing a ton of minutes, wasn't getting a ton of volume. And as you increase his volume and allow him to do stuff like run inverted pick and rolls from further and further away from the basket, he is going to turn the ball over more compared to a point guard. But relative to a big, like a 2.0 assist turnover ratio for a center is quite good already. And certainly as a secondary playmaker, I think Oso has flashed that potential for years and years, going back to his days playing with Tyler Kolek and Marquette. That was kind of his role. What they're doing with him now is something that he hasn't really been asked to do before, at least maybe not since, I don't know how much he handled the ball in high school, but at least not since then. Really the way that he was kind of running point in Summer League is new to him. So there's going to be a learning curve, but I don't know. I definitely see the potential with him still.
Chadwalk, someone we know, I think a Patreon member, said, "What's your bagel order and what's Sam's bagel order?"
What's your bagel order, Mike?
I don't eat bagels very often. There's a really good bagel place in Phoenix called Bagel Feld's, but you have to get there early in the morning before it's all sold out.
Yeah, that's annoying. But I probably wouldn't make that sacrifice.
Yeah, no, I don't go very often. So, but I do kind of like sweet bagels. I'm kind of boring. I don't get the everything bagel. I would probably get like a cinnamon raisin bagel with cream cheese or something.
No, that's all right. It's the sweet bagels are totally valid. A cinnamon raisin, a blueberry, a French toast, if you will. As long as you just get it with like a normal cream cheese and not like a sacrilegious cream cheese or smoked salmon or something.
Yeah, that would be insane. What do you get?
People like the everything. I've always been partial to the sesame bagel over the everything. I'm not quite sure why, but I'm partial to a sesame bagel, toasted, capers, onions, tomato, smoked salmon, the works. I will say you can rarely find it outside of New York, I feel like, but if a place has whitefish fucks. Whitefish is great. Highly recommend it. So, but I can't find it outside of New York.
Here's someone who probably remembers the old Reddit days. Toasty.
Oh wow.
Yeah. In retrospect, this is a great question.
That's a great question.
Should we have traded Josh Jackson for Kyrie Irving? Now I remember this battle on the Reddit, and you know why I remember? Because I wanted to trade Josh Jackson for Kyrie Irving, and very few people on the Suns Reddit and in the Suns community, don't get me wrong, but I remember because I was having these conversations on Reddit, wanted to do that, and it's very obvious that they should have done that because whether
are you
or not
sure?
Kyrie Irving
Is he sure?
Whether or not Kyrie Irving would have worked, you could have traded him for more than what you got for Josh Jackson, which was nothing.
Let's play devil's advocate. Okay? Just because, why not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You trade Josh Jackson for Kyrie Irving, and you're good immediately. Not good enough, but you're good. You now do not, over the next 2 years, have the opportunity. You draft someone, presumably, but you're not drafting that combination of DeAndre Ayton plus Mikal Bridges plus Cam Johnson. Those were 3 guys you drafted over 2 years that played a huge part in getting you to the finals. So you have to replace that talent somehow. Well, actually, would they still have gotten Mikal because that wasn't their draft pick?
Yeah, maybe.
So maybe they still get Mikal, but you have to replace DeAndre Ayton and Cam Johnson. So
yeah,
you
but
have to view it. The way I'd view it is not, are we trading Josh Jackson for Kyrie Irving? It's, we're trading Josh Jackson, DeAndre Ayton, and Cam Johnson for Kyrie Irving and some, late first rounder in 2018, 2019.
I would have still done it. I think Kyrie Irving and Devin Booker would have at least got us some fun seasons.
And then
there.
you don't go out. You have no need to acquire Chris Paul either. They would have had very fun seasons together. I just question.
Well, who knows?
We went to
I don't
the
know
finals.
how long a team lasts with Kyrie Irving, Sam.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This is a good question because the obvious answer at first is yes, but then I'm not actually sure. It might be no.
Well, to me, I figure it's
no.
like 2 or 3 seasons with Kyrie Irving, and then as long as Devin Booker still pops, because that's really the only thing, right? Because if it somehow impacts Devin Booker's development, which I don't think it will, he's such a hard worker. As long as Devin Booker still pops, then at some point you just trade Kyrie Irving, and then you can improve that way. Jimmy Toucan says, even accounting for price, or even accounting for / pricing in a mid-season from Malawach and Fleming, how confident are you that point guard Green, benefiting from Booker's gravity, plus no longer employing the worst center rotation in the league, plus no longer counting on Tyus, Beal, Booker lineups to contribute to this 27th ranked defense, plus Ball Sicko Ott can allow the Suns to be
is peak August basketball talk. Yep.
Can allow the Suns to be better than they were last year despite losing KD. So basically, factoring in all of the stuff that the Suns have, including trying to develop the young guys, how confident are you that they'll be better than last year?
I think someone else posted in this thread. I'm going to find their username just so we can kind of address 2 at once. Andy is awesome. The over-under is 31.5. Have we talked about that yet? I don't think so.
No, because we have a whole episode about that at some point.
Oh, yeah, I guess we do. Well,
but the wins, the over the wins, we always talk about ahead of time.
Yeah. So, I don't know. That feels kind of low to me. But for them to leapfrog what they did last year, which was 36, I'd say it's 50-50, honestly. That's honestly how I'm feeling. I think it's 50-50. How do you feel?
I don't feel that confident. I think that
31.5 feels a bit low. But I guess I would say that. I probably say that every year.
Yeah. I think that if they're going to be better than last year, for example, it would take Malawach and Mark Williams being better than anticipated. And if both of those guys are, then they can be better. Maybe they won't be a lot better, but they can win 37 games. I don't know, 36. Like they could be the 10th seed. And and obviously a Booker like otherworldly season
they could win,
is really what it would take.
They could win 45.
I mean, that'd be insane.
It's not out of the realm of. I watched Goran Dragic.
If they win 45, you got to
Gerald
capitalize
Green.
on Jalen Green's value.
I watched enlarged heart Channing Frye lead a team to 48 wins. He didn't lead that team, but he was on that team. It was a different NBA though, a different time.
Phoenix Soulbender says he's got I don't know if I'll get to all these questions, I'll be honest, because I want to get to more, but let's try and do 2 of them.
Okay.
How would you rank Oso, Dunn, Brea, Malawach, Fleming in terms of your evaluations of potential development?
Potential evaluations and potential development. So
that's all the rookies and all the sophomores.
I'm going to interpret that, because I think you can interpret that in a couple of different ways. I'm going to interpret that as a ceiling question of who here are we looking at as...
That's interesting.
...has star potential.
That changes my thought process a little.
Well, you can answer it in a different way if you want.
I kind of like that idea.
When I hear potential development, I hear who could, like, sorry for the pun, but who could change our timeline? You know, who could accelerate our timeline? Malawach is number 1.
I think he's in a tier by himself. And, you know, somebody else had a question in here that said, sell me on Malawach without mentioning his measurables. It's impossible. You got to mention the measurables, man. It's impossible.
Yeah. Malawach
What
is number 1. What
puts him in a tier by himself is because of his measurables.
Is Oso number 2? Is that stupid?
Okay, in my mind, I'll just say it here. When I think about them tiering them as far as what they could develop into, I put Malawach by himself and then the rest of them in the next tier.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I
but
don't
like
even
if you
think
add
that,
to,
I don't.
if you had to rank those other 4 guys,
if you had to rank them, I would probably put Dunn second still.
I would say probably Dunn, then Oso, then honestly, we're just talking about star potential,
yes,
right?
It's Brea.
It's
right?
Brea over Fleming because
Dude, yes,
there's an
agree.
outside chance that Brea is just like
a steal,
like crazy level score. And Fleming is a guy who took like 1 mid-range shot in college. So I think Fleming could be awesome, but I don't see star potential in Fleming.
Yeah, he's like awesome in the like a supercharged Torrey Craig though. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I think when I think of absolute ceiling, if I'm just ranking them by ceiling, Brea in my mind would be higher than he should be too. It's just because like shooting will always matter, and like there's just a little bit of wiggle to his game that if it works out, it just you have a higher ceiling. It's just that's how it works. And let's see. Oh, one of his questions was about Brea as a long-term piece. So
Are you high in Brea as a long-term piece for the Suns? His shooting is really effortless, and he seems like he has more to his bag to attack defenders and is a good size for the 2. Those last 2 are points we've made talking about him before and are just the things I would stress again, right? Like, yeah, he is the best shooter in college basketball, but he is also 6'6" with shoes and over 200 pounds and, you know, was attacking guys off the dribble in Summer League. All of this stuff that leads you to believe that there's more there.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for the questions, Phoenix Soulbender. Pistol Pete, another classic Redditor. Hey, Mike, I'm of the opinion that one of the ways out of this mess is that the Suns have... one of the ways out of the mess that the Suns have found themselves in is to hit on a reclamation project.
100%.
One of those players is Jalen Green, but I was wondering if you and Sam had any other names in mind. I already know what you're going to say.
No, you don't.
I already know what you're going to say.
No, you don't.
That the Suns actually have a chance in acquiring. It sounds like there's real interest in Kuminga, but what are some other players in a career flux that you think would fit well next to the pieces the Suns currently have?
You don't know what I'm going to say.
Mount Jambalaya. That's my
Mount
guess.
Zion Williamson. Yeah, no. That's definitely the big one, right? That would be a huge reclamation project. No one believes in Zion anymore. And they could match the salaries. Yeah, they could do that. Yeah. Why not? Markkanen. Does he count?
It's a pretty good one.
Does Markkanen count as a reclamation project? I think he should.
You know, I think Utah probably wouldn't consider him that, but I think it's pretty clear that the league does.
He clearly had
Utah,
a big
did
down
a lot
season.
to change their team. Utah did a lot to change their team, and they gave away, like they traded Sexton for Nurkic. We haven't even talked about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, Sexton, I liked Sexton. I think we talked about this maybe on a playback, but they did not trade Markkanen, and I think it's clear that they were not getting the offers that
this
they
might
wanted
be
to.
some
and
sort
they've
of
only gotten worse over the years, for sure. They should have traded him last year.
I think I saw an article today. I apologize if this is some sort of AI hallucination coming from my brain, but that the Bosnian head coach called Nurkic fat.
Yeah.
He said he's not in shape.
Yeah.
Which, like, obviously...
Can't even run, he said.
It's just funny hearing it from him.
No, it's not. It's nice. It feels like you weren't gaslighting people, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Markkanen makes, like, a crazy amount of money, which is why it would be a reclamation project, right? Like people would be
that much though, right?
It's like 45. I think it's like 45.
Okay, so, I mean, that is a lot for how he played last year.
Exactly. Like people would be chomping at the bit to get that guy. If you think he can be a star player, it's not. Yeah. But at 45, I mean, I legitimately think Markkanen could be an incredible 1-2 pairing with Booker.
He'd be an awesome fit in the starting lineup the Suns have.
He's literally the power forward that, I mean, look, I know they want to play defense and all, but like he's literally
defense.
He's the ideal power forward of what they need right now. So that would be cool. Yeah, I think those two guys. He mentioned Pistol Pete. He mentioned Kuminga in the comment. I know you don't like Kuminga.
Yeah, everyone knows where I stand on Kuminga. I think he makes teams worse. I have a simple opinion. It seems like it's not going to happen, though.
Is Trey a reclamation project? No, that doesn't count, right?
No, I think, yeah. I mean, look, we already know how I feel about Trey. It's the opposite of how I feel about Kuminga. I don't think Trey... Like, Trey is interesting because he's not a reclamation project, but he's obviously flawed.
Oh, I have one. But I'll let you finish your point on Trey, though.
And that's it. That's really it. Yeah.
Okay. Is Jaylen Brown some sort of weird reclamation project?
Well, after this season, he might be.
Because the Celtics
could be real bad.
The Celtics are obviously going nowhere this year. Brown is going to take a ton of shots on a bad team. Their front court is literally hideous. And also, Brown is a good player, but like Markkanen, makes way too much money. He makes 50 plus. He does not deserve that much money. But would still be a good pairing with Booker. I don't know. Like for the right price. I think that's one you think about.
Yeah, it's an interesting option, and I think there's a good chance that all of these sort of overthinking podcasters are going to be talking about Derek White as the best player on the Celtics this season by like December, just to discount Jaylen Brown, and that'll change the conversation on Jaylen Brown pretty fast.
Namish Keita the second best player on the Celtics?
I'm glad you didn't say that other name you have for him. Mochter of Dedison said, "Love you guys, thank you. My question is, who are your favorite big men from the Suns over the last 5 to 6 years or so?
There's so
many
options.
This is mostly because my son was absolutely in love with Bismack as well as JaVale McGee. He was about 4 years old at the time. Sounds like your son knows ball. And will randomly bring both of them up years later. Did any of them leave an impression on you, even outside of basketball? Obviously, we can leave Ayton out. And for myself, he said Jock and Biyombo for him. I mean...
The great thing about this is that...
Yeah.
Almost every, not quite, but almost every option is great. I feel like fan bases usually fall in love with backup centers.
It's so true. The two guys I thought of were backup centers right away.
Yeah, but I don't think no one's going to say like Mason Plumlee. No one's going to say...
No.
I don't know. I think the rest of these guys, I could think of people who would say their names.
Drew Eubanks.
Oh, I literally forgot he existed. Okay, no one's going to say Drew Eubanks. No one's going to say Mason Plumlee. But Aaron Baines...
Aaron Baines was the first guy I thought of. And that was 2019, I think, so that was a long time ago.
5-6 years.
Maybe. Yeah.
Kaminsky? It's just fun.
Yeah, Šarić was higher on that for me. Šarić was the guy. That was honestly, Šarić is my number one.
Definitely Bismack.
That I would,
Definitely
Bismack. And Bismack. Bismack was just like... And by the way, JaVale McGee was awesome too. Like, I actually think he was almost underrated on that team. And just how good he was at that stage of his career. He was really good. And, having Chris Paul, of course, is always helpful. But JaVale McGee, as a hype man in the locker room, as a guy who seemed to actually really bring that team together a lot, was really fun. And he was great on the floor. Had some highlight moments. I remember him stripping Luka Doncic at half court. That's a classic moment. But yeah, Dario Šarić, I think, I'm not sort of the Suns QAnon theory guy of if Dario Šarić didn't tear his ACL, the Suns would have a championship. I'm not going that far. But what if he didn't? No, I just really liked Šarić. I thought he was smart, and it was nice to have a big who shot threes, and that's why Aaron Baines sticks out too, because like all of the bigs the Suns have been relatively similar. The ones who shot threes were the ones that stood out because of how rare the Suns had a big who could do that.
It's a shame that Dario just doesn't really have any juice left. He's gone through a bunch of injuries and was never an athletic guy, super athletic to begin with, but Denver gave him that contract last year. How many games did he end up playing for Denver? Like 20?
Yeah,
so, it just didn't work out for him.
Trade Any 4389 says, "Where do I set my expectations to achieve maximum enjoyment for this season?" Low. It's honestly that's good advice every season.
Yeah, I think the Vegas odds makers have it right, where it's like if your expectation is in the low 30s, I do think it would take a lot to let you down at that point, and you're just going to every game. Let's say you're in the Phoenix area, you're going to games in person. Every time you go, you're just expecting to enjoy the ride of watching young players who care again and who don't take possessions off, but who are going to miss a lot of shots and turn the ball over and do stupid stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Let's see. Let's get this. Andrew Lund, 94, says, What would need to be the next evolution of Booker's game to make the public value his contract differently?
That's a good question.
The Suns, honestly, if the Suns were just really good this year.
My exact answer. I kind of feel like there's nothing a veteran of Booker's tenure can add to his game. I mean, I'm like, what does he have left to prove from his actual game? Just be a better pull-up three-point shooter? We know he can play defense. We know he's an incredible 3-level scorer. We know that his playmaking has improved so much over the course of his career. So it kind of feels like one of those narratives that just flips if you win games, if you become a 50-plus win team again like they were a few years ago. And then everything else would fall into place. You know?
I think all of the pressure, all of the attention is on him now, too. You know, Jalen Green, if they're good, Jalen Green will get credit, too, because it's the only way they're going to be good is if Jalen Green is good, too. But this is very, very clearly no longer a Chris Paul team, and it's very, very clearly no longer a Kevin Durant team. So I think, you know, for them to be really good with all of it being on his back would add to his narrative a bit. Let's see. Dream Ghost, spelled a little differently, but he said, for the Suns to be a playoff team this season, who do you think needs to be the second best player? Oh, I kind of just said this, actually. It's Jalen Green, right?
Okay, but what if, like, Mark Williams is, like, 25 and 10 a game and plays 70 games, and he's just 2006 Elton Brand? Then are we cooking and, like, suddenly we're a random 46-win team? Shout out to mid-2000s Elton Brand, who gave the Suns problems in the season that Amari was out. Do you remember that? I was a literal child. But I think that was right around when you were starting to watch the Suns, too. And you were older than me.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, too. Yeah, for sure.
Dude, Elton Brand, 2005, 2006 was a problem. Seriously.
But, yeah, I think, that could happen. That's one guy that, he'll be 23, 24, and he has skill. But Jalen Green, I think, would make the biggest difference. Shot creators make the biggest difference. Augie5, as a reply, said, adding to this, if Malawach is the second best player, is this the worst case or best case scenario? It's funny because it could be true in both ways.
No, if Malawach...
Because if he's the second best player, it could mean everyone else sucks.
No, there's just no way that all of those players suck. If Malawach is the second best player, if we're legitimately having that conversation, then we know we have a future star on our hands.
We have the new Wemby.
Superstar. Seriously. I mean, at that point, yes.
Lukewarm277 says, how much of the current roster would you be willing to give up for Trae Young?
Okay, let's... How much... what does Trae make? What does he make?
45, 46, something like that.
We don't have picks, guys. This is the issue.
Yeah.
So you have to give up Malawach or Dunn or something. I don't know.
Well, there you go. Would you give up those two guys? I think that's where the conversation starts and ends.
No. 45. Yeah, so, I mean, if you did Jalen Green, Malawach, and Dunn, that would match salaries roughly. I don't have it in front of me, but I think that's about what Trae makes. I wouldn't do that. Would you?
It's tough. I don't think I would. I don't know. Maybe I would. Like, I think that you had the opportunity to try to trade for him, and the Hawks probably weren't ready to have any conversation like that. And I don't really think they are now. They're clearly trying to be good this year. But it was in the KD trade, and the fact that they didn't find a way to figure it out at that point maybe isn't for a lack of trying, but it didn't work, and it probably won't happen.
The Hawks 100% are in the right to keep Trae right now and go for it this year, by the way. I would feel so bad for Trae. I really like Trae. I would feel so bad if this year of all years, where it looks like anyone could advance to the finals in the Eastern Conference, if he just got traded to the Suns to be on like a 45-win team, that would be tough.
Yeah, it depends on how he feels, because, like, I don't know. Does he want to be there? It's just kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Where would you have the Hawks in the East? Fourth?
Oh, I think
fifth?
they could. I think they could be fourth or fifth. Yeah, I think they could be a home court playoff team in the first round. I think that's possible.
Yeah, but like fourth or fifth, and also recognizing that you're just a little bit of Jalen Johnson or Reese Shea development away.
Yeah.
From just being this year's Cavaliers, you know? Like, it's not crazy to think that they are just a 60-win team.
Yeah,
I'm not saying they're going to do that, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. They're going to be playing a lot of bad teams in the East consistently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so they could feast on that regular season schedule.
Couple more here. Mustard Tiger 231 said, "Love the show. Mike and Sam, no questions. Just keep up the good work." Thank you. Thank you very much. 2K Davey says, "Do you think post-summer we will see glimpses of Kaman playing impactful minutes? Even if he's a project, he looked a little rough, but he wasn't playing with a good PG either. I am still high on him." Look, I think
I do love how people feel the need to specify, you know,
especially on Reddit.
Yeah,
right,
they don't want people to come after them. I'm high on him. I promise.
Yeah.
I promise.
Yes. I think I think it's good to have like a real honest assessment of him the way that he did in his question, because the reason it's tough for me to say that the Suns are going to be good this year or like better than they were last year is because I want them to prioritize developing Malawach as well. And he is raw. He's one of the youngest players in the league. He's just going to be one of the youngest players in the league. Those guys are not really impactful on good teams at the beginning of their career ever. You know, so like I want them to prioritize that. So how impactful his minutes will be? Probably not very. I think that it will probably be a situation where you're playing him at the beginning of the season sort of out of obligation to try to develop him, and then if things develop properly, by the end of the season, hopefully he's doing things right and doing things in a way that benefit the team. But I think it's going to be a bit of a process for him, and I hope that Suns fans, after what we've learned with all the other young players that we've watched over the years, are going to be patient in the right way with him.
I guess it's a bit weird because I'm trying to think of what the floor is for playing Malawach. Like, I agree with you. He looked rough in Summer League, and he is a project, and we know all of that. But, like, would he be that much worse than Nick Richards or Oso if you just played those guys' minutes instead? I mean, those are still those are still quite flawed players, and I like both of them to a certain extent, but they have their issues. I don't know. I think Malawach will figure it out. He will play impactful minutes because he has to. The entire legacy of the Kevin Durant era and the Kevin Durant trade rests on Kaman Malawach's shoulders, whether we like it or not. He is the centerpiece of that trade, and so he will be featured. And we're going to have a pretty decent idea of what he is pretty soon.
Let's see. I think we have time for a couple more. Do you want to just grab one or two, and I can try to find one?
Sure.
As well.
God, there are so many. So I apologize, guys, to anyone we didn't get to.
Yeah, I was hoping if we recorded on the time that we planned on it. Oh, let's.
This one's. Sure. This, and I have one that's obvious to tee you up to.
Okay, cool. Tizdu, I have to do because he's a brother in arms with us, right? When you're a moderator for the Suns Reddit, you sort of you go through those battles together a little bit. He says, "My boys, shout out Tizdu. Who's your favorite non-Suns player in the league currently, and why?" So not quite Suns related, but NBA related, and we do watch a lot of basketball. You know, I'm a league pass head. I try to watch a little bit every night in the regular season, truthfully.
I haven't watched a game in 5 years, personally. I just look at spreadsheets, and then, you know, I figure that gives me enough to talk about. Gives me
look
material.
at spreadsheets, and you try to tweet the meanest thing about Kevin Durant that you can think
of. You go first.
I'm very boring in this one. It's Steph Curry.
Oh, okay. I was going to go with another boring answer. I mean, yeah, Steph's awesome. I was going to say Wemby.
I mean, Wemby's awesome too, and I take time out to watch him play, but I think that the Suns were bad when the Warriors' rise started, and I wanted to watch good basketball as well as watch the young guys grow for the Suns, and so I got kind of hooked on those early Warriors, and I was very in on the 2015 Warriors, and being vindicated at the end of that season, I felt so right. It made me feel good about being right about them. And last year, it was about a year ago, right? I think almost exactly. Watching Steph Curry have that game in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a
basketball
moment.
High for me, man.
That's an basketball high for sure.
Because I could root for him unabashedly. It wasn't sort of against any of my teams. It was my team, and I was rooting for him alongside Devin Booker.
That's how all of America felt about rooting for Devin Booker finally.
Yes, exactly.
Team USA. We had them all on our side.
It's just that's an Olympic game that will go down all time as possibly the best performance anyone had ever seen.
Dude, Wemby though just does shit we've never seen before too.
It's so good, yeah.
I want to give one answer that maybe is not just so totally obvious. So I'll throw a shout out to Cade. I'm really excited to see what the Pistons do this year, and I think Cade is a fun example use case to remind us of development is not always this linear thing. And there were a lot of people questioning Cade a couple years ago, and you could kind of always see the processing and to go back to that word, right? The feel. I think there's always been a certain amount of feel in Cade's game. But you could watch him a couple years ago and kind of be like, are we sure this guy's good? Mm-hmm. And now he's good. He's very good. And he's the engine of everything the Pistons are doing. And again, with the state of the Eastern Conference as it is, I'm excited to track them this year for sure. Ivy should be back, and healthy too. So, Asar Thompson. So they've got a good chance to go pretty far.
Yeah, it's interesting that they didn't do much this offseason. They're still sort of loaded with assets if they want to make moves later. I don't necessarily think it's a bad choice with how bad the Eastern Conference is, just to run it back and see how good they are before they make those moves.
It's funny too, actually, because if there was any team that I was going to bet would make that kind of Desmond Bane style trade, I thought it would have been the Pistons and not the Magic, and then the Magic sort of ended up cashing in all their chips for Bane, and now I think the Magic are going to be really good, but we'll kind of see which of those two teams ends up having a more successful momentum this year. My last one from P Daddy 1123. What current NBA team are the Suns ideally looking to replicate in the modern NBA? Where do you see the style of future successful teams evolving to? I just wanted to give you a chance to get on your soapbox.
It's pretty clear that it's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. No surprise, obviously, hiring Jordan Ott, DeMar Carroll away from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Drafting a guy in Kaman Malawach, who I think is it's not at all a one-to-one comparison. Just vaguely Evan Mobley coded. Or maybe he's the Jared Allen. I'm still not sure.
The fact that he could be one of those two guys is not a coincidence, I think. They want him to be Mobley, I think. They want the shooting to be real. But Mobley, it took 4 years for that to be real for him, too, and it's still not quite there. But yeah, playing double bigs, playing fast in the half court, shooting threes, cutting a lot.
New spacing techniques that maybe, have only been popularized in the past couple of years and largely by the Cavs. Is Book Darius Garland or is he Donovan Mitchell on this team is the big question.
Don. Yeah.
Okay, but Jalen Green is not Darius Garland.
They don't have one. Yeah. People are tired of me talking about it, but it's why I kept trying to make a trade for Kobe White work in the offseason, just fake trades, of course. Because that was the guy that I was like, this guy could be available, and he plays kind of like Darius Garland. Just trying to find a guy that was like that. So it's just not a lot of guys that are. Garland's kind of a classic point guard. I mean, he shoots more, but that's how they all play now. They shoot more. So it's hard to find more guys like that. Chris Paul could have done some of it, obviously, but we haven't even talked about the fact that there's rumors that they didn't want a presence as strong as Chris Paul in the locker room for Jordan Ott, is the rumors.
Well, that's exactly what you were talking about at the beginning, though, is that they're leaning into, they're saying this is Ott's team. And
But Book wanted him. That's tough.
Is that what the article said? I didn't read that. I didn't read that. Okay.
You better have gotten it right if Book really did want him. So.
I mean, I wanted him. I wanted Chris Paul, so that hurts. That hurts to hear.
This was great. Appreciate you all. I do want to say something real quick too. I know I missed a couple of podcasts last week. I will actually be missing a couple of podcasts going forward as well. Unfortunately, I did have a death in the family, and I do have to go to a funeral out of town. So no podcast, no midweek podcast, Patreon podcast, no podcast, at least with me next week. Maybe we can work something out outside of that. I do apologize for that. It's not something obviously I intended to do, but luckily it is August and not a lot going on. But I do want to say thank you to everyone who asked us questions in this thread. We had a lot of really good ones, and just a shout out to Reddit in general. I don't want to forget you all, because that's where we came from. So I want to remember our roots a little bit and try to get a mailbag from there every once in a while. I like that the questions can be sort of longer in format too than on Twitter.
That's true.
Because Reddit lets you do as much as you want. So thank you, everyone. You got anything else before we go?
No, just thank you guys. Thank you for listening, whether it was your first time, last time, somewhere in between. Shout out to you.
Thanks, everyone.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, Blue Label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.